In this lecture, we'll be discussing the file handling panel, where we'll find some other important options. First, we can set how our DNG files are configured when importing images into Lightroom. Keep in mind that these settings are only relevant if you opt to convert your RAW files into DNG format when importing. In the File Extension menu, we can set either upper or lowercase DNG file name extensions. You can choose either one, it really doesn't make much difference. Next, you can set the compatibility of the imported DNG file. Adobe Camera Raw is an application that lets you import and enhance RAW images in popular programs like Photoshop, Photoshop Elements, After Effects, and Adobe Bridge. Adobe Lightroom is built on the same processing technology that powers Adobe Camera Raw. When converting your file to DNG, you can set which version of Camera Raw you'd like to make your files compatible with. If you're unsure which version of Camera Raw your application uses, you can easily find out. For example, from the menu bar in Adobe Photoshop, click About Plugin, and then click on Camera Raw. We can see here that I currently have version 9.9 installed. For that reason, I'll leave the default compatibility setting, which includes Camera Raw 7.1 and later. The next option here is the JPEG preview. This gives us the option to render JPEG previews in medium or high quality. We can also eliminate JPEG previews altogether by selecting none. Full size would be high quality and medium would be standard quality. For now, just leave the default medium setting. Embed fast load data. This option ensures the DNG conversion process is processed as quickly as possible. And again, this is when you're importing your images into Lightroom, you want to make sure that your RAW files are converted as quickly as possible. So it's a good idea to leave this checked. Embed original RAW file. This option allows you to preserve all the raw data from your camera in your DNG file. Remember from our past discussion that when a RAW file is converted to DNG format, the RAW file data may not precisely map to the DNG format. This means that some data properties may not be carried over to the DNG file. To ensure all data is preserved, you can check this box. Normally, this is not an issue, so you can leave the box unchecked as is the default setting. Under the Reading Metadata heading, we have some basic options. If any one of these checkboxes are checked, these settings will allow Lightroom to treat the period and backslash as keyword separators. This might be useful in very specific cases, but for the most part, you would likely leave them unchecked. So just leave them as is. File name generation. We can also have Lightroom automatically disallow certain types of characters in file names. This includes the backslash and colon. We could also include a much broader range of characters as well by clicking on this menu. This is useful in cases where your images may be uploaded to a web gallery. For example, internet addresses can become non-functional when these types of characters are found in the URL. For this reason, you may opt to replace these characters with dashes or underscores, which are URL compatible. For now, we can leave the default setting, leave as is. The next group of settings allow us to adjust the camera raw and video cache settings. Anytime you view or edit raw images in the Develop module, an up-to-date high-quality preview is generated. This process of generating previews can be sped up if the original image data is in the camera raw cache. This is because Lightroom can skip early stage processing if the original image data is found in the cache. The default cache size is 1 GB. A great way to speed up Lightroom processing is to increase the size of the space allocated to your cache so it can store more data. Only do this if you have enough system resources to facilitate an increase. Some professional photographers opt to store their cache on a separate high-capacity SSD drive. Setting the cache between 20 GB to 50 GB has been known to significantly improve the performance of Lightroom. In the event that Lightroom is functioning very slowly, it may be required that you rebuild your cache. To do this, you would click the Purge Cache button. The process can take some time depending on your system. Since we're not going to be using Lightroom for anything that extensive, for example, thousands of photos, I'm just going to leave the cache at 1 GB. You can also change the size of your video cache down here. So again, the larger the cache, the faster Lightroom can process your images and videos.